I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been caught in an awkward situation, whether it's romantic, platonic, friendship, or family. You're speaking to someone and maybe you've fallen out. Maybe you've met up in person and you just know it's not going to go anywhere. So you don't know how to end things. So you just end things by not saying anything. Ending something with a friend is a lot harder than ending someone with a romantic connection, in my opinion anyway. In today's society, you're expected to just be open with everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, your feelings. You're expected to just be an open book and just share how you feel. But that's a lot easier for some people than it is for others. I know for me it's really, really tough. Back in high school, I've had friendships where I've just outgrown. I'm no longer sort of aligned with those people and I don't know how to end the friendship, so I just end up like not really responding to messages, and months go by, years go by, and it just kind of fizzles out. But was that the wrong thing to do? Should I have just said straight up I don't want to be your friend anymore at 17 to another 17-year-old? Ghosting sometimes feels like the safe option because you can't say the wrong thing because you didn't say anything, but people deserve an explanation. There is so much morally wrong with ghosting someone, especially when it's a deep connection, friendship or relationship, and just saying nothing to the person. But with that being said, let's unpack the topic of ghosting and unpack the reason why I don't think I'm too ready to quit either.
Yes, I did that.
Because I ain't got the fish shoes, blue. Yes,
And you would do it too for a check.
An important thing that we have to know is that ghosting is a defense mechanism. I know for me, I can't really handle unpredictable situations. Like if you've watched my overthinking video, you know that I'm a massive overthinker. Like I'll overthink silly little things and literally just create problems. If something is like an unknown situation, I don't know how it's going to pan out, I don't know what's going to be said, how it's going to go down, I will literally spend so much time thinking through every possible scenario just so that I can dissect like what I'll do, how I'll act, how I'm going to plan things. So when it comes to like simple things like friendships, like I'm no longer friends with someone, it's fizzled out, I don't really align with them, maybe they've said some horrible things to me, because this has happened a lot in high school, where a lot of the friendships I've had have literally just been because the person doesn't even like me, so I ghost them. But ghosting still isn't morally right regardless. People deserve an explanation. The way I handle that is I want to tell this person, oh hey, like I don't really, you said something kind of mean to me, like I don't really like the way that you made me feel. I feel kind of disrespected, and I mean, because of this, it's not the first time it's happened, it's literally like the 4th or 5th. I kind of don't think we should be friends anymore, and maybe we should just go our separate ways. Send? I don't know, like, it's so tough to send unpredictable messages like that to see how the person's going to reply, because are they, like, is it going to be an inflammatory response? They're going to get, like, super angry at you and super, like, annoyed, like, who do you think you are? Or are they just going to agree and be like, yeah, cool, I think we should go our separate ways, like, I'm sorry that you were disrespected in any way, but cool. Or are they just going to ghost you after the message? Then it's awkward. Like, ghosting always happens if you're an overthinker. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen, and you hate the unpredictability of it. So you'll think through a million different scenarios to try and plan out what's going to happen. And then even though you overthink, you're not going to know what to do, so you'll just ghost anyway. I don't always ghost like cold turkey. Like, I never ever like just like disappear off the face of the planet. That is a bit wild, and I know that there's stories of guys that have done that to girls on TikTok. Like, I see it all the time. But I normally like drop hints. Like, I'll say like, I've literally gone out with a guy before where I mentioned on the date, like, oh yeah, we seem like such good friends, and I thought that was a good enough sign for him to kind of like get the gist. But then when it kind of came to talking afterwards, talking about work, or like how was your day and stuff like that, I was kind of like, oh, I'm like super busy at the minute, I'm sorry if I don't really reply, like I probably won't be able to reply to you as much. Like, I try and drop hints, and even though it's literally not an excuse, Christina, like, just tell them that you don't like them, you don't want to see them again, like, stop dropping hints, that's childish. I feel as though it's not as bad. And as someone who sometimes struggles to say like the really tough thing and the really difficult message, I think sometimes dropping hints is a lot easier than hurting someone's feelings, because at the end of the day, the reason we ghost is because we don't want to hurt their feelings. Like, that's literally our worst nightmare. If you're someone watching this who kind of has ghosted before, feels bad about it but continues to do it anyway, it's just because you're probably like a people pleaser. You don't want to hurt someone's feelings and let them down, so you're kind of like, best option is to not say it straight and then maybe drop some hints, but probably just to not say anything. Like, but with that being said, a big problem with ghosters is that you think that you can predict what's going to happen, even though you probably can't. Going back to the example of the date that I went on, like, honestly, I was predicting in my head, like, oh, he's going to be upset, he's going to be annoyed, he's going to be like, I wasted his time. Like, I was thinking through all these things in my head, but I probably could be wrong. Like, when you're a ghoster or a people pleaser, an overthinker, someone who just ruminates on so many different scenarios, you think you can predict what's going to happen in your life, and you think you know how it's going to go. But do you actually? Like, how many times have you been proved wrong by your overthinking or by the way that you thought something was going to pan out? Like, it pans out in so many other ways. But being able to predict how it's going to happen isn't going to stop you. You're probably still going to do it. I know for a fact if you're watching this video, you're probably going to still continue to overthink and ruminate and plan out your answers and stuff. But that's all because of an underlying issue where you have a fear of the unknown. Like, once I discovered this for myself, it kind of like changed the game. I realised that I'm such like an overachiever. Like, you give me a problem, I'll solve it. You give me a question, I'll find the answer. Like, I'm such like a task oriented person, and it's because I can like use my knowledge, apply it, get to the solution, that if there's something that I can't find the answer for and it's just like an unknown, like ambiguous like situation, I'm so uncomfortable with things being like unsolved, unsettled. Like, that is so uncomfortable for me. I always need to have like a certain like definite thing on the end of it. So then that would make you think, like, why do you ghost them? Like, obviously, if you're someone that likes things settled, why do you ghost? But then it becomes, like, more emotional. I want things settled, but I want to know that I haven't, like, upset the person, even though I kind of have to. Like, when you think about it, you're kind of, like, tossing and turning between two inevitables. Like, you're obviously going to upset the person if you send a direct message, but you're obviously going to upset the person if you ghost them as well. Like, you're going to upset the person regardless, but why do we struggle so much to do it? I think but choosing between the two, choosing between upsetting the person through a message and upsetting the person through ghosting, I choose ghosting personally, I think, because at least I know nothing's been said on my part. Like, I know, like, I'm not going to be left guessing, like, what are they thinking about this part of the message? Like, should I have changed the opening of the message? Should I have put a kiss on the end? Should I have put an emoji? Like, when you say something, there's so much to dissect and analyse, whereas when there's nothing, there is nothing to dissect and analyse. So it's kind of like I feel reassured about how it'll be perceived because there's nothing to perceive. But now that I'm thinking about that and saying it out loud, it does sound very, very selfish. And it's not the way that I want to go forward. Like, the reason I'm making this video is because in 2024, I really do think I'm going to be a bit more direct and send the difficult messages, even though I might be unsure how it's going to be perceived. Because it doesn't matter if someone's going to be upset by a message. Like, it's 2024. Every single day isn't going to be sunshines and rainbows. You aren't going to be having a positive influence on everyone else in your life every single day, every single month, every year. Like, there's going to be days where you say something tough and say something a bit sour that people aren't going to be able to handle, and that's okay. Like, I think because I had a tough time in school and I was kind of like picked on, like made fun of, bullied sort of thing, I kind of take on too much of a burden to be nice to everyone else and be super, super kind, be like, you know that person that kind of waits for you when you're tying your shoelaces and everyone else is like run along. Like, I'm always that person that waits for you, and I think I take on too much of that pressure in other areas of my life, especially when it comes to like ending a friendship, ending a romantic thing. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to offend them, I don't want to upset them, I want to like be there for them, like I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then I end up ghosting, which probably does more harm than good. Like, I want to look out for them and make sure that they feel, it makes no sense, but I want to make them feel reassured. Obviously ghosting isn't going to do that, but I choose that path because it's like I don't want to do harm, and I feel like doing harm is sending the brutal message. And I say brutal message because I don't want to like sugarcoat it. I don't want like a fluffy message that's like literally like 2 paragraphs long when it should just be like a couple sentences that's like honest and direct. So in summary, I'd rather do nothing than do the wrong thing. Let me know if you can kind of relate to that as someone who does ghost, or someone who, to be honest, I feel like if you're a ghoster, you probably put everyone else before you, which I know sounds ridiculous. Like that, like obviously you don't put other people before you if you're ghosting and being horrible, but you are putting them before you because you're thinking so much about what they're going to think. You're thinking so much about them. Like you've got an intention to end something. A bigger problem that we have as a society overall, especially with social media and like dopamine and all this, is that ghosting is a classic example of instant gratification. Like having to come up with a message to send the person that's going to explain it in a simple way that's not going to waste their time, but obviously just get it across like as quickly as possible. That's delayed gratification, where you have to kind of wait a bit of time, send the message, wait God knows minutes, hours, days to get their response, versus instant gratification where you can just have it on your end where you've ghosted and they are never going to know. They're going to be in the delayed gratification phase. Like they're waiting for a message. Like they don't know when they're going to hear from you, but you've taken it under your control and it's all within your court of the arena. It's all within the ball's in your court pretty much, because you got an instant relief from the situation. You know straight away what the outcome is, but they're going to be waiting for ages. Whereas if you flip it on its head, you could be waiting for ages and send the message. You don't know when they're going to reply, if they're going to reply. So it's just a classic example of instant gratification, and that's quite a toxic thing. Like I know there's 1,000,001 studies on that to look into like how it messes with your brain and stuff, but instant gratification when it comes to like being disciplined with like food and exercise and all the healthy habits and stuff, I know it's quite a bad thing. So I feel like with ghosting as well, it's probably a bad thing as well. which is even more reason to just stop doing it, which I definitely am this year. One thing I quickly want to disclaim is that ghosting is obviously a sensitive topic, especially if you're on the receiving end, or what's the opposite of receiving? Doing end of ghosting. I've been ghosted and I've ghosted other people, and I've never ever ghosted someone where I think like it's gonna like ruin their mental health. And I'm sure a bunch of you guys have also been on the receiving end or doing end of ghosting as well. But I don't think it's fair to attack anyone in the comments, attack me for this topic, because it's honestly so nuanced. Like, I'm not bringing up and showing you all of the messages and like explaining the situation. Like, you don't really know you don't know in too much depth what actually happened. And in the comments, if anyone does decide to share like what's happened with them, please don't go attacking people, because that's just not nice. With that all being said, I mean, the main reason why I ghost, and I'm sure you ghost, is just that I don't want to deal with the fact that I could be hurting someone else. Like, someone else's feelings are on the line, and I know that's obvious like when you say it, but when I'm sat there with the difficult situation of like pressing send and like saying something like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, I don't want to see you again, like that could hurt someone's feelings. And I just, dealing with that situation, I'm like, I'd rather do nothing. I don't want to be responsible for all that pressure of hurting someone's feelings in that way. And I know it's an inevitable situation, like they're going to be hurt regardless. Any time that something's coming to an end, like a friendship, relationship, movie, like anything coming to an end, it's obviously going to be a bit bittersweet. Like, there's going to be a downside and there might be a positive, but you just can't escape the negative of it. And I think maybe that's what I'm doing as someone who's ghosting. Like, I'm trying to like escape that negative side of it and get away from the downside, even though it's just inevitable. Chances are, if you're the sort of person that's thinking so much about other people and planning out how they're going to feel based on your message, you're probably a people pleaser. I have made an entire video about how being nice is ruining your personality. I've made a deep dive video on this topic of how people pleasing is literally like the worst thing that you can do for your identity and personality. But that is enough from me. If you want to learn more about this topic of people pleasing and being too nice, because there is such thing as too nice, it can be too nice to the point where you ghost people and you start to lose who you are. That's enough from me. Make sure to watch that video.